This was shared today by Disclose.tv, speaking on the matter of NATO. And here, the quote that you're going to hear now is, Russia knows it as well. An attack against one is an attack against us all, which is pretty incredible given the circumstances.
And let there be no doubt, the commitment of the United States to our NATO alliance and Article 5 is rock solid.
Oh, yeah?
And every member of NATO knows it. And Russia knows it as well. An attack against one is an attack against all. It's a sacred oath.
A sacred oath. Article 5, NATO, an attack against one, attack against all. Well, NATO's not involved in this. NATO has never been involved in this. Of course, on the books, they've never been involved in this. Behind the scenes, they have their hands right up the ass of the puppet government in Ukraine doing whatever the fuck they want on so many different levels, in dabbling in so many different pies. So that's interesting that he's talking about NATO this, NATO that, and technically NATO has nothing to do with any of this because Ukraine is not a NATO member. But if we're going to talk about Article 5 and this kind of this switch that would call in all the bannermen of the 10,000 nations that are now a part of NATO. I'm surprised that Russia, to be totally honest with you, I'm surprised Russia is not a part of NATO. Maybe they will be one day. I'm surprised they're not part of NATO. But so with all this talk about flipping the switch and calling in all the allies and an attack against one is an attack against all. Well, didn't you just say? I thought Russia already blew up a pipeline. I thought Russia blew up a pipeline in order to harm German citizens, a.k.a. NATO. That is what you told us. Oh, all right. That was us attacking NATO. My bad. Right. So, and again, when you listen to these people talk, whether it's him, whether it's Kamala Harris putting the big girl pants on, these are the freaks and their staff members who have bomb shelters with their names on it. If you and I had to run because something was coming our way and all we had to go into were the subways, we'd be fighting off an army of vagrants high on bath salts or that new zombie drug over there. All right? They'd be trying to eat us, and they'd be having caviar a mile underground somewhere. That's the difference between both camps. Okay? Rachel Maddow, Joe Biden, and all their interns will be a mile underground, and the rest of us are going to be fighting off the zombie junkies. Now, when it comes to Vladimir Putin, he did have a nearly 2 hours, about a 1.5 hour State of the Nation today. And I watched the whole thing. You can watch it out there. I have links. I can share it. I might have already did to the Telegram and elsewhere. Here is a 2-minute video. 2-minute video that's been going around and has some subtitles. I will read it for you, those of you who are in podcast land. Let's go ahead and do it. I'll get it off the screen so everybody can read it at home. Here we go. And here they lie constantly, perverts. They pervert the historical facts. They do not stop attacks on our culture. That's how he starts off.
И здесь опять лгут постоянно, извращают исторические факты, не прекращают нападки на нашу культуру, на русскую православную церковь.
The Russian Orthodox Church and other traditional religious organizations of our country. See what they do with their own people, the destruction of the family, cultural and national identity. Perversion, mockery of children, and pedophilia are declared the norm of their life. And priests are forced to bless same-sex marriages. God with them, let them do what they want. Hold on. God with them, let them do what they want. What do I want to say here? Adults have the right to live as they want. We have always thought like this in Russia, and we always will. No one will invade private life. We are not going to do this. But I want to tell them, look at the Holy Scriptures, the main books of all other world religions. Everything is said there, including that the family is the union of a man and a woman. But these sacred texts are now in doubt. As it became known, the Anglican Church, for example, plans to consider the idea of a gender-neutral God. What can we say? Forgive us, Lord. They do not know what they do. Millions of people in the West understand that they are leading to a real spiritual disaster. The elites, directly, I must say, go crazy, and it seems that they can no longer be treated. But these are their problems, as I said, and we must protect our children. And we will do this, protect our children from degradation and degeneration. Oh, can you imagine? Listen, I can't disagree. I can't disagree with his diagnosis of what is going on over here, and what any kind of culture that wants to save itself from snuffing itself out needs to do to reverse course. And that's not to say to do away with gay people, by the way. But there is a very specific line that is being taken by special interests to go far beyond the understanding that when you live life in a free world, then you're going to be living around a whole bunch of people, whole different types of people who have stories and origins and everything that happens to them along the way, and where life leads them, and what they become and how they deal with it. That is just life. If you can't deal with that, then you're probably rough to be around sometimes. But we've gone so far beyond that. It is obviously militaristic. It's antagonistic, and it is now being weaponized in a psycho-emotional way to damage children and to make sure that future generations of a once free society is in doubt. All right? So it's this is just the way it is. But still, that was what we had there. It was a hurricane of gaslighting afterwards. And I had a friend of mine email me. He said, Frank, after watching this, no doubt Langley will escalate after Russia sends 500,000 troops to take Ukraine. It will be a frenzy, and probably a false flag here too. But here are some of the notes. About we just saw that it was about an hour and a half, minute 39 to 42, anti-woke, defends children from degradation and pedophilia, cites the Bible. That's what we just watched right there. The West wants to destroy Christianity, no doubt about it. We fight for our children. Then there's a minute of silence at around minute 50. Minute 53, family of each fallen soldier, they'll have social worker assigned to them, financial, medical, psychological support. So he's just talking about all the things that they're going to do for people who are losing their lives in this conflict. Around the 1 hour and 20 minute mark, for about 10 minutes or so, describes how oligarchs took money out of Russia, wasted it on yachts and mansions, and how they're not going to help them when the West takes it. So when it's all taken by Western forces and governments and all like that, there's not going to be any chance of the Russian government coming to their aid. Russian capital must work inside Russia to build it up, he says, not to help our enemies make the choice to stay in Russia. And then around 1 hour, 30 to 54 minutes around there, interesting details on supports of veterans and mothers and economic strength. And then toward the end, the nuclear treaty being suspended, and reiterating that Russia will not attack first. So whatever you agree on, whatever you can believe, or wherever you're at, that's fine. I feel it's important to dig into this stuff, take note of it, listen to some of it, not listen to the characterization of what's going on by obvious, crazy freaks like Rachel Maddow and that automaton, stillborn president Joe Biden. I'm not interested in it. I understand what the company line is over here stateside. I understand what the company line is. I'm not interested in that. I already know everything I need to know. This is what I'm interested in, knowing the other side, what they're saying. And despite what you may think is just bull and just lies on their end, because I don't trust the Russian government. I don't necessarily. I may trust them more than ours, to be honest. But what does that mean? What does that mean? I'm just anti-war. That's all I'm coming from on all this. Anti-war. But to hear that over and over again, Russia's not going to attack first, which I believe because so far we've only attacked ourselves with Nord Stream, and everything else is either a weak attempt at reverse psychology, which is obviously not going to work, or a preamble. It could all just be a preamble for a major false flag. I wouldn't be surprised if the false flag is cyber related. I wouldn't be surprised, because when they did that NATO summit a couple of summers ago and they were reviewing everything that would actually fall under an official trigger warranting of a triggering of Article 5, they reiterated and really focused hard on cyber attacks being one of those things. It may not be that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is, especially since Klaus has been promising that that's going to be the next pandemic. Because like Nord Stream, you can't hide what happened with these events anymore. You can't hide it, especially people are interested in finding the answers. But cyber attacks, we may have our assumptions about what's going on, that it may all be bullshit, but it'll be a lot easier to fake. So, and then they closed out with the national anthem, their national anthem. And that's what we have. The Daily Mail, this is how they covered it. Putin goes nuclear. Russian president raises the stakes as he reveals he is pulling out of nuclear arms treaty and accused the West of starting Ukraine war in a bid to achieve limitless power. Limitless power. You get a whole bunch of variations of that. So I'm going to take a really quick break. When I come back, I want to read you an article, a really quick one, but it's a great piece. It's a blog by James Howard Kunstler. It's called Belief Between That Rock and the Hard Place, which is where he says we are at right now. And after we read it, you can call in and let me know if you agree or not.